Can I welcome we've got some IT issue here, so just bear with us, please. I've got my F1 on, it's not me.
Someone's only got their mic on in the beginning, or they're not just here.
Shall I start again? That's better. Good morning, everyone. Can I welcome all members and officers to this meeting of Cabinet Committee Equalities, which will be held as a hybrid meeting. The meeting is being recorded and will be available via the Council's website to be viewed as soon as is practical following the meeting. Everyone participating in the meeting will be accessing this meeting either from the Council chambers or from the remote location. Please could everybody ensure that mobile phones are switched off or to a silent mode. Members will have received an electronic copy of the agenda. I will ask officers to present a summary of the key points. For the record, the agenda can be viewed on the Council website. Members and officers will be speaking at various points during the meeting, and those speaking may switch their microphones and, where remote, their cameras on at that point. But I would ask that, with the exception of myself as the chairperson, at all other times you keep your cameras and microphones switched off, as this will help to minimize any background noise and interference and ensure the connection remains as stable as possible. Whether in the chamber or remote, if any members or officers wish to raise a point or question, they should press the hands up icon at the top right-hand side of the Microsoft Teams window, and I will come to you in order I receive the request. Please lower your hands once you have finished speaking.
6 Neto, 5 Rashford, 4 Martin.
Can you move JP,
Sterling.
please? Councillor Blundell, can you
Saka, 1
move?
Salah.
Thank you.
Do have access to assisted diet and make the
Okay. Please lower your hands once you have finished speaking. The chat button has been disabled for this meeting. Please do not use your microphone until I invite you to do so. Officers from Democratic Services will be supporting the meeting and will be monitoring the use of microphones throughout the meeting, and where necessary will mute those not being used. I would also ask the officers to introduce themselves as and when I invite them to speak during the course of the meeting. They too should ensure microphones and cameras are switched off when not in use. I will now proceed to the agenda business. Can I have, is there any apologies, please, for this meeting from members? Just for the record, I've got Councillor Howell Williams, Councillor Ross Pell-Thomas, and I believe Councillor Gebby as well. Are there any other apologies, please? Councillor. So we've just had a message from the leader to say he's finding it difficult to join online.
Plus this. Oh.
Sorry. Any declaration of interest, please? Okay, Councillor Melanie Evans, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would like to declare an interest in item 5, as I am a school governor at Pencoed Comprehensive and Croysty School. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans.
Sorry, that's a personal interest. Sorry, Chair, that's a personal interest.
Thank you. Councillor Elaine Winsley.
I'd like to declare an interest in item 6. As an employee of Arwen Cultural Trust, we delivered some fun activities and feel food and fun activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also would like to declare a personal interest in item 5. I have grandchildren in one of the schools listed. Can somebody let the leader in? He's just trying to join. Great, thank you. Councillor Evans, did you want to come back in?
Yes, I would also like to declare a personal interest as I have a child in one of the schools listed as well as my governorship in both Pencoed Comprehensive and actually Croisty School. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. If you could go through the minutes for accuracy, and can I just note the last meeting was chaired by myself and not Councillor Good. And also, I believe Councillor Gebby was present at the last meeting as well. So if we could correct that as well. So if I can have a mover and a seconder, please, for the minutes.
I'll move.
Thank you.
Happy second, Chair.
Thank you. Do we agree they're accurate minutes?
Yep.
Approved? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 4 now. Please, can I ask the officers to present?
Good morning, Borda. Thank you, members, for allowing me to present Cabinet Committee Equalities with an annual update on the community cohesion work of Bridgend Community Safety Partnership and of the Welsh Government-funded cohesion officers. This report has been a collaborative update pulled together by myself, Kirsty Williams, Community Safety Partnership Manager, and Lara Rowlands, the Regional Community Cohesion Officer covering Western Bay, who's joined online. As covered in the report, in December 2018, Welsh Government notified regional cohesion officers of their intention to fund community cohesion work, and as Western Bay region, we successfully applied for 140,000 that would fund activities covering identifying and mitigating community tensions, such as hate crime, extremism, anxiety, antisocial behaviour relating to Brexit, improve community cohesion communications, organise events, activities to promote social inclusion, and the delivery of non-Brexit activities as outlined in the National Community Cohesion Plan of 2019. In September 2019, Bridgend County Borough Council appointed a community cohesion officer based within the community safety team of Bridgend County Borough Council. This role and the funding has been extended over the last few years, spanning the Brexit deadline, supporting the EU resettlement scheme and associated work during COVID. In March 2023, the funding was confirmed until March 2026, with a possibility of another 2-year extension. As members will appreciate, given the major political and social changes since the role of the Community Cohesion Officer was created, the duties of that officer have evolved. The role of the officer up until September 2023 focused on engagement and awareness raising, training and capacity building, tension monitoring and mitigation, inclusive policy and decision making, and the prevention of hate, exploitation and extremism. As of September 2022, Bridgend's Community Cohesion Officer has been on secondment to Swansea Council as the Regional Community Cohesion Officer. This post became vacant as Riaz, who had been a post in Swansea, took up secondment with Welsh Government for the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan. Attempts to fill this vacancy have been unsuccessful, and at present the secondment runs until May 2024. So the vacancy and the workload is being managed by the Community Safety Partnership with support from Lara as the Regional Officer. This avoids duplication and ensures collaboration across all aspects of community safety and cohesion. As mentioned in the report, a new Welsh Government National Community Cohesion from October 2023. However, as this is an annual report, this update focuses on the Community Cohesion Work Plan, which spanned March 22 until September 2023. The report details some of the activities that have been undertaken against each of those areas of focus, so engagement and awareness raising, training and capacity building, tension monitoring and mitigation, inclusive policy making and decision making, prevention of hate, exploitation and extremism. Central themes that have been undertaken in all the activities include things like partnership working, engagement, training, information raising, influencing policy and decision making. The Community Cohesion Officer has also been involved in securing the funding for the development of the Street Snap app, which is being piloted in Bridgend. This app will help identify and report hateful graffiti, stickering and images in the county borough and collect accurate data on hotspots, areas and graffiti trends. There's also been the establishment of a small grant fund with previous recipients including Connelly Development Trust for the LGBTQ+ support initiative. We hope to award more grants to the Bridgend region. The most recent grant fund was launched during Hate Crime Awareness Week, which happened earlier in October, and the focus is on creating inclusive spaces. The closing date is the 14th of November 2023, and it's open to charitable and voluntary organisations, those with charitable objectives and not-for-profit organisations. Up to £800 can be claimed. Moving forward, the focus for the new National Community Cohesion Delivery Plan, which was included as a background document, include mainstreaming community cohesion, community engagement, bespoke resilient communities, and building resilient communities and bespoke actions. The new plan is a result of a rapid review of the Cohesion Delivery Plan, which was conducted by Diverse Cymru in October 2021, and actions delivered against these new objectives will be the focus of next year's update. Also included as a background document are the Court 2 hate crime figures. These have been supplied from South Wales Police. Recent years have seen unprecedented changes locally, nationally and internationally due to the impacts of the COVID pandemic, cost of living crisis and global events. And so this makes year-on-year comparisons of data quite difficult. But if we compare Quarter 2 2022 to the same period in 2023, we note an increased number of reports of hate crime incidents, notably for racial incidents in my stake. Also of note is that there were no religious hate crime reports in Quarter 2 of 2023, whereas there had been in the previous year. For the whole of the basic command unit for South Wales Police, which spans RCT, Merthyr and Bridgend, we see a similar pattern of increased hate crime reports, notably racial incidents. The same data shows a decrease in the number of reports of disability hate crime in 2023 and hate crimes related to sexual orientation. Victim support data has only been available at a force level, South Wales Police level, which would cover the entirety of their force area. At this level, we can see a decrease in the total number of reported hate crimes, largely driven by reductions to reports of racial and sexual orientation hate crimes between 2022 and 2023. However, there are increases of hate crime incidents linked to religion, disability and transgender. With the exception of a slight decrease in disability hate crime nationally, the South Wales picture mirrors that of the rest of Wales. But it should be noted that nationally we are seeing an increase in racial hate crime. It isn't an issue specific to Bridgend. It is unfortunately happening widely and has been the case since we left the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty, for that very thorough report. I've got Councillor Good.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kirsty, for the report. I'd happily move the report as well. Just a couple of questions from me and a couple of observations. Firstly, just as a bit of housekeeping, really. Unfortunately, if you access these papers through the BCBC website, the two addendum items, which include the hate crime document, are not accessible. So can officers please take that away and make sure that these documents are formatted properly so that we can access those documents, because I think it is unfortunate that we are not able to actually look at the documents showing hate crime, because that does limit our ability to engage in that. I just think it's worth noting, as we are the Cabinet Committee for Equalities as well, before I come to my questions, that obviously there are significant tensions at the moment within communities because of events taking place in the Middle East. And I think it's important that all of the authority, both officers and elected members, reflect on that, support the work of the Community Cohesion Team and South Wales Police in trying to deal with any of those issues. And I think, I take a moment as well on behalf of Cabinet just to say that obviously everyone in this authority abhors any form of discrimination, and that any form of discrimination will be dealt with properly and within the limits of the law to ensure that everyone has the ability to live happily and freely within our borough. That being said, just a few bits from me on this report. I think some of the work sounds really, really positive. It would be really good to have a few highlights of what the work of the coordinators have done in the last year specifically, because I think it's quite high level. It'd be really good to know some of the detail. And I just wanted to check, in terms of the coordinator being seconded to Swansea, I just wanted to ask what the rationale really was for seconding them to Swansea rather than having them based in BCBC. And as well, what steps have been taken really to go beyond the sort of usual routes of recruitment? I know HR colleagues will of course know the difficulty of recruiting, but I think with jobs like these, you sometimes have to look outside normal routes. And I was just wondering what steps have been taken to find someone who could take on this really important role, because I think this is a key role for us, and I think it's going to be so important in the next few years. So I just wondered what work had been done to try and find someone to take up that role. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Kirsty, did you want to come back to that, please?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Good. And in terms of the embedded documents not being available, we can certainly share those following on so you get access to all the data. The secondment was agreed before I came into post. It is covering the regional post then. So when Riaz left to join the Welsh Government, that created a vacancy that Lara, our in-house community cohesion officer, went forward to apply for rather than have that vacancy there. I think it's been beneficial for us because we see the benefits of working regionally. We get the information then that covers Swansea and Neath Port Talbot, which have a higher levels of Black, Asian, minority ethnic communities in ours. So we see emerging trends a lot clearer from that regional picture. That's not to say that we're not alive to the risk of not having somebody in Bridgend. We have tried various avenues to do recruitment. We've gone to jobs fairs, but unfortunately the extensions to the secondment are generally for shorter periods of time. So the most recent one only 6 months. And as you alluded to, we are struggling to recruit generally. So only offering a post for 6 months isn't an attractive prospect. That being said, as you also highlighted, given the very volatile political situation we're in, we are aware of risks that poses, and also our commitment to drive forward the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan, which needs dedicated resourcing. So we are considering options of how we can ensure that that role is filled as soon as we can, either by a person or secondment or other such ideas.
Thank you, Kirsty. Councillor Good, did you want to come back, or is it a different point?
It's a different point, Chair, so Councillor Spanswick.
Right, I'll go to Councillor Spanswick then, please.
Thank you, Chair. And firstly, I'd like to do a second report and put that in order. And just make a brief comment. I thank you for the part of the report with under engagement and awareness on page 10, where it talks about the Positive Messages project in Bridgend doing some of the community street art projects, and in particular Brackler and Bridgend, some of the subways and the wonderful artwork. So I'd like to say a big thank you to the team for that, because it's quite unexpected, but really needed, required, and it has made a big difference just to some small areas where people now can walk through and see that message of hope and the wonderful artwork that's been done. So a big thank you to the team for arranging that. It's one small part of a massive job, I know, but thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Spanswick. Councillor Good?
Thank you, Chair. And I'd mirror Councillor Spanswick's comments. I think the work done in the subways and across various bits of Bridgend to cover up hateful graffiti and replace it with something really lovely that really enhances the area, I think is such a cool project, and I think everyone involved should be very, very proud of that. I just wanted to raise on point 3.5 of the report, which goes through a lot of the work that's happened over the last year. There seems to be very little mention of the LGBTQ plus community, and I was just wondering what work was being done to empower and engage that community to ensure that there is a vibrant LGBT community within the 3 boroughs that this work is being done in.
Thanks, Councillor Good. Lara, are you able to pick that up with a specific delivery element, please?
Sorry, thank you, Kirsty. Thank you, Chair. So Lara Rowlands, Regional Community Cohesion Coordinator. Yes, of course. So one of the things that we are trying to do is whatever work that we do, for example, in Swansea, we're trying to make it regional, especially as we don't have an officer in Bridgend currently. And one of the things that we are sort of supporting is the Welsh Government's Hate Wales social media campaign. So that will include things like engagement materials and videos on different types of hate crime, and that includes LGBTQ plus specific hate crime. And another thing that we are also trying to sort of help with grassroots community groups is launching small grant funds. So, for example, we've just launched our second small grant fund during Hate Crime Awareness Week. And our previous small grant fund, which was launched earlier in the year, Cornelli Development Trust was one of the beneficiaries of the grant fund, and that was to help support the LGBTQ plus support initiative to really sort of try and, I suppose, develop and strengthen those links with local LGBT community residents. And we also work with the Youth LGBTQ Forum alongside South Wales Police, which takes place on a weekly basis.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Lara. Councillor Good, did that answer your question? Yeah. Sorry, I had my mic off. I was asking if everybody was in agreement to the report. Thank you. That's great. So we'll move on to the agenda item 5, which is update on racial and or discrimination incident within schools. Not sure who was taking that one, please. Zoe, thank you.
Hi, yes, thank you, Chair. For the purpose of the recording, I'm Zoe Edwards, the Consultation, Engagement and Equalities Manager. So the purpose of this report is to provide Cabinet Committee Equalities with all the information on racial and or discriminative incidents within schools as monitored using the Racist Incident Report form, along with initiatives to combat racism within schools. So beginning on the 18th of March 2019, all schools were sent guidance on reporting incidents within their individual schools. The guidance included notifying the local authority of racist incidents, as well as a notification to the police where incidents were recorded as a hate crime. The forms are currently completed online now. We've just moved them onto an online format so they can be recorded easily, and then the details are collated by the Equalities team so that we can report on those annually. So in autumn 2019, Welsh Government announced several grant-funded streams to deal with hate crime. Amongst these was a project to work specifically in 100 schools across Wales, and the aim was to deliver critical thinking skills and raise awareness of all aspects of hate crime in schools. So this has been reviewed following and subsequent publishing of guidance relating to schools' responsibilities for bullying practice, and this is now devolved into individual settings. So a number of schools in Bridgend were identified on the basis of data on reported hate crime in the community, antisocial behaviour in the area, and discussions with the school liaison police officers. As you can see, the 5 identified schools were Bryn Teg, Bryn Tirion, Coleg Cymunedol o Derwen, Maesteg School, and Pencoed Comprehensive. So then in January 2020, the Welsh Local Government Association commissioned the Show Racism the Red Card as their preferred partner to deliver the project to identify the schools across Wales. The aim of the project was to deliver a series of workshops to support children and young people to develop critical thinking skills which would enable them to question hateful narratives. The project is also aimed to equip school staff, including teachers and key support staff, such as receptionists or break time supervisors, with the skills to challenge hate crime and support victims where it occurs in school through separate train-the-trainer style workshops. This report outlines the racist discrimination incidents reported for the whole of 22-23 of the academic year, as well as an update on the Welsh Government project in relation to hate crime being delivered in selected secondary schools across Wales. So in 22-23, there have been 43 racist incidents reported by schools across the county borough. Incidents were reported by the following 15 schools. Incidents are reported by incident type, and these are categorised as verbal abuse or insults, racist comments during a discussion, verbal abuse and written derogatory text, name calling, racial language, racist graffiti, verbal abuse and use of a weapon. And we also record the age of the perpetrator and also the age of the victim involved. I'll go through each of those. So of the 43 recorded incidents, a range of interventions took place. Some of these would have multiple interventions per incident, and these can include anything from a phone call home to the parents, verbal reprimand, meeting with parents, fixed time exclusion, anything up to a meeting with South Wales Police. So then in April 21, after discussions between representatives of Welsh Government and the WLGA, a new funding arrangement was agreed, and that was to fund the remainder of the project during the financial year 21-22. The agreement included an additional funding allocation, which increased the scope and capacity of the project to include an additional 2 schools in each local authority. So, as you can see highlighted in the report, the additional school identified is Porthcawl Comprehensive School. To date, 6 schools have received sessions via face-to-face delivery or webinars. And we've got some updates from the Central South Consortium. So in August 21, an agreement from the WLGA was made to alter the delivery model and offer the teacher training to all schools within Bridgend. The approach has provided a more sustainable approach to dealing with issues of hate crime in our schools and addresses key recommendations set out in the recently published report by Victim Support. The professional learning and resources developed by the CSC to support the teaching of themes relating to Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities and Cynefin are aligned to the findings and recommendations of the Welsh Government Working Group. So the CSC provides a professional learning programme to support the teaching of themes relating to Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities, and Cynefin, these professional learning programmes are available to all schools. They also work in partnership with the Diversity and Anti-Racism Professional Learning in ensuring high quality professional learning, and that is available to all schools. They also provide resources and signpost schools to further resources that can be used by schools and practitioners to support the teaching of these themes. Equality and critical thinking do play an important part. And if I could just take Cabinet to the recommendation to note the annual update on the racial and discrimination incidents within schools, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zoe, for presenting the report. So I've got several hands up now. So can I call Councillor Amanda Williams first, please?
Thank you very much. Apologies, I've not got much of a voice. I wasn't going to declare any interest as I'm an LEA governor and we've been given advice in the past we don't have to, but given some of my colleagues have declared a personal interest for having children in the school, in a school mentioned in the report, I wanted to also declare a personal interest because I have children in one of the schools listed. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor William. Councillor Good, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for taking us through the report, Zoe. I'm happy to move it. Just a few pieces from me. So just on the title of the report, obviously the title of the report is an update on racial and/or discriminative incidents within schools, but I just want to note that this report only covers racial incidents, and it would be interesting to see an update on what work is being done within schools to make sure that other forms of discrimination, such as anti-LGBTQ, misogyny, etc., certainly with extreme misogyny on a considerable rise amongst young people. I think it is important that we reflect on that, not just on the work around anti-racism, because it is important that kids are taught respect for all people, I think. So I just wanted to note that. Going on to the detail of the report itself. So in 3.1, we see the Porthcawl Comprehensive sadly has 130% higher level of incidence than any other school in the borough. And I believe I'm right in saying that when we had this report last year, Chair, it showed a similar level of a discrepancy between Porthcawl as a very top end and then a big gap between other schools. And I know in the report it is noted that extra support is being given to Porthcawl School in 3.3, but I just wondered what support that was and you know, what is the impact of that support being measured? Because it is concerning that year on year we are seeing that Porthcawl, which as far as I'm aware doesn't have a significantly higher level of minorities within the school, certainly not to 130% anyway. You know, so what work's been done to identify the reasons for this, and what extra work and what extra support is being given to the school to help support staff to stamp out racism within it?
Thank you, Councillor Good. I think you must have read my notes. Yeah, I was going to ask a similar thing. You know, this is from the Porthcawl Comp took training in 2021 with show race and the red card. These incidents happened last year, so yeah, I'd like to know what work are we doing as well. Thank you, Zoe.
No problem. I think what I need to do though is bring in one of my colleagues from education, who I believe has joined the meeting, so they could probably give you some more information on specific school work.
Nicola, are you there? Sue, okay, I was told Nicola. Thank you, Sue.
Sorry,
we're both here.
I was just going to say that this week we've put a reminder out to schools that there's actually a DARPOR conference. That's the Diversity Anti-Racism Professional Learning as a conference on the 21st of November, and that's for all schools. So that's an opportunity again to pick that one up. I think the other part of it, we need to look at two things. Obviously, the size of the school, that Porthcawl is one of the largest schools in Bridgend, and that may impact on reported numbers, as well as the fact that sometimes because of the training, that encourages schools, quite rightly, to report incidents, and so it may be that we're looking at reported incidents where maybe they're not being reported in schools that have not received that training. That may be something that we've got to look at. But I think this is part of the purpose of this report, is to kind of flag concerns as they emerge so that we can pick that up. The other part is that I think it was not mentioned, but it was in the report, is that with Central South Consortium there is the opportunity there for brokered support to make bespoke support to try to alleviate kind of issues that perhaps are emerging. So this is something that we can certainly pick up with the improvement partner to see if there's more work that needs to be done to link in with the professional learning that's on offer through Central South Consortium. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. I think the other question Councillor Good asked was, you know, report is good. It talks about racist incident. What about other hate crimes that happens? That Councillor Good asked the question. Do we have any feedback for him, please?
I'm afraid I don't have any details on that at the moment. I'd have to go and check that with colleagues who collect that data.
Thank you. I guess what we can look as an action from today, then we can look at, see, you know, we should be reporting all hate crimes, not just one protected aspect. So good, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, if I may, thank you, Sue, for that response. I would just note to the Equalities team that I think this is something I raised last year, that the report describes itself as racial and discriminative incidents, and I was told that it would be taken away and that would come back this year to include other forms of discrimination. So I just want to put that on record, that it is important this committee sees what other work is being done beyond racist incidents within our schools. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Did you move the report? You did, didn't you? I thought so. Councillor Spanswick, please.
Thank you, Chair. And firstly, a second report. And similar to Councillor Good, it's surprising to see the numbers with call. But as has been said, that could be they're better or more organised at reporting things and picking things up. And there's work to be done with our schools. The bit that what surprised me is on page 18 is the age of perpetrators with a peak at 11. So is that telling us that there's more work to be done in primary schools? Because I assumed that would be an older age, more of the secondary schools, but that's the point when they're changing over from primary to secondary. So is there an issue where we need to be doing much more work in primary schools before they get to that point? And I'm just wondering whether, I mean, are some schools not reporting as well as others, but does it include, there's lots of this goes on after school and social media. If a child comes to school and reports things that happened outside school, can that or should that then be reported? And are schools picking that up, or is it only instance within school time, school hours? And lastly, Chair, is the 3.4 where it points out the show racism, the red card training, where Brinteg School didn't participate due to issues arranging suitable date. And these dates were a year or two ago, so I would hope, I'd like to think, and ask the question, has Brinteg School or have the governors now picked that up and dealt with it and made sure they've had that training? Because Brinteg School is again a large school, similar size to Porthcawl, I thought, so it needs to have the training and needs to be dealing with it with not just racism, all forms of discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spanswick. Sue or Nicola, would you like to pick those questions up, please?
I think maybe our colleagues in the Equalities team perhaps a better place to answer the question about the specifics. I don't believe Brinteg have since done the training, but I can check that. I think you're right, Councillor Spanswick, it is important. As you know, there is a cost attached to the training and we have a certain limited number of places, and you know, if we can't arrange them in the time, then that does become very difficult sometimes to roll over because the funding is for a period. I think you're quite right. There is a huge issue at the moment within schools around capacity, not only linked to pandemic, but levels of sickness and the level of commitment on teachers to be out of the classroom attending training has recently been picked up with us with head teachers. But, you know, I don't want to make out that's any kind of excuse because this is really important work and we need to kind of be focusing schools' attention on it. Sorry, I'm losing my voice as well. I would also say, though, that much of this work is picked up in other kinds of work because I think Councillor Good in particular mentioned misogyny. A lot of that work is picked up in our work on peer abuse. So you will, I'm sure members of the committee will remember several years ago, the reports on peer abuse, which has been picked up since by Estin, and a lot of work has been done in schools to ensure that that issue is dealt with. So there are other elements of work that aren't specifically related to this area, but do pick up those sort of really important themes of respect and you know, mutual kind of respect for all groups and all different people. So that kind of work is picked up largely in various arenas throughout schools. And of course I would bring members' attention to the fact that we do our annual safeguarding audits in every school. Those are then checked by the team, so the school self-audit, and then we go out and we do checks to make sure that they're correct. And within that, lots of elements of this important area are picked up, including the peer-on-peer abuse work.
Thank you, Nicola. Did the team want to pick that up? Anything from Councillor Spanswick's question about outside of school? Where would that get reported, please?
Thank you, Chair. For the purpose of the recording, I'm Phil O'Brien, Group Manager for Transformation and Customer Services. So we've got the corporate form is a discriminative incident report form, so it covers all the protected characteristics, and we encourage schools to report all sort of any discriminative incidents to us that they become aware of. So we are reliant on schools filling in the form, making us aware so we can promote it. So there may be a piece of work we need to do with the schools, just to remind them of the the need to also report other incidents to us, not just the racial incidents, but the form that they have got and encouraged to use is to report all discriminative incidences to us corporately.
Thank you, Phil. I'm going to jump the leader and ask if Councillor Blundell wants to come in because of education. Can I bring you in, Councillor Blundell, please?
Can't bring me in. I was going to say anything more profound. I was just going to say I agree with Councillor Good that this needs to be looked at in a wider range rather than just race. We need to see the whole picture of what's going on in our schools in that sense. But one thing we need to, as Phil mentioned about schools filling in the forms, I think that needs to be reiterated more and more to schools, because I know of an instance of racist graffiti on a primary school that isn't reported in the figures below in the reports. But that might have been reported somewhere else, it might have been reported to the police, but we need to be able to know all of that and make sure that schools are reporting this, because we as Cabinet, we as councillors, we as the local education authority need to know what's going on in our schools, so we're able to act as swiftly as we can. I know the corporate director is Lindsay Harvey is meeting with heads this week, so I'm sure the force that he will put across the need that we need to make sure that these things are reported, but also that they are taken seriously and they are acted upon as swiftly as possible. But that's really what I wanted to say, because Phil sort of jumped in and said the thing about reporting before I could ask my question. So I'll leave you to it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Blundell. Before I bring the leader in, Councillor Spansbury, did that answer your question? No? Okay. Can I bring the leader in, please?
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this report and the work we're doing with Show Racism, the Red Card. It was also very useful to hear from the Head of Education and Learning about those other initiatives that are taking place in our school in terms of, for example, peer-to-peer mentoring. And what would be helpful is to have a report that references all those initiatives, so we understand the holistic work that is being undertaken across our schools in regards to all forms of hate, and the response to that. I think it would also be helpful to try and understand better. I don't know how we do that, but I'm sure there's a way of looking at whether schools are reporting all the incidents. So I think a report on whether schools are reporting would be helpful. And then I know that we have the Team Bridgend approach here in the county borough that is very effective, where all of the head teachers come together and discuss good practice, because there's good practice in some of our schools, not least in Porthcawl Primary. I know there's been a very good example that was recognised nationally in the last year of where a young person from Ukraine had been very well supported by the school and become very much part of that community. So I think it would also be helpful to have an update from Team Bridgend, so that head teachers can have an opportunity to discuss their approach across the county borough and share that good practice that is happening as well, Chair. And I suggest that we have that. Perhaps not in a year's time, but perhaps sooner than that. And then finally, just a question around the impact of events in the Middle East. So I know Councillor Good referred to that earlier, but just wanted to confirm, I know certainly asked the questions of South Wales Police, but just to check if we're identifying any issues, and I hope we're not, but are we identifying any issues in our schools locally? Because sadly I do know that in other parts of Wales we are seeing those tensions played out in the schoolyard, very sadly. So just a question as well, Chair, for me.
Thank you, Leader. Nicola or Sue, do you have any
I would be I would be very happy to take the leader's suggestion there to take this to Team Bridgend. We have Team Bridgend this week, as Councillor Blundell indicated. But yeah, I think that's absolutely a really good point to take it to Team Bridgend and maybe do a kind of presentation and exhibit some good practice, because as the leader pointed out, there's some really good practice out there, and we've had some really good news stories recently. So yes, we will do that. As to the Middle East question, I think that's probably for the Equalities team to pick up. I'm not aware of any, but they may know differently.
I apologise, I keep forgetting to put the mic on. Nicola, because the question was in relation to the school, have you had any feedback from the school over the past few weeks to see if there have been any incidents?
I haven't been made aware of any.
Thank you, that's good. Councillor Amanda Williams next, please.
Thanks very much. I just wanted to come back on Councillor Good's question. What are the governing body of Brinteg doing with regards to show racism, the red card? As an LEA governor of Brinteg School, I will pick this up and take it back to the governing body. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I can't see any other hands up. Just a point from me. I mean, it's good to see that the consortium are putting some training on. Do we know to date how many schools or teachers have taken up that training? I appreciate you were saying about time element and the costing, but it would be good to know that this training has been put on. Can we get some figures, for the next meeting, how many schools and teachers have actually done the training, please?
Yeah,
good.
Oh, sorry.
So I'll bring you in first.
Yeah, sorry, I will check the figures with Central South Consortium once the training's taken place. So perhaps we'll get a picture of how many have already been involved in that training and how many attend the conference on the 21st of November.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Councillor Good.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to sort of flag with you, this discussion has sort of concerned me slightly in that education colleagues seem to be deferring a lot of things back to the Equalities team. And I want to be clear that the Equalities team is not responsible for the policy within schools. And I'm sure that wasn't the intention of officers, but that is how it's come across to me. I think we need to make it very clear the difference between what the work of the Equalities team within the borough does and the responsibility of the LEA to ensure that these things are being reported, that these things, that, as the leader said, the good practice is being shared, and that we are keeping a barometer of whether there are tensions increasing, and that is not the job of the Equalities team. I just wanted to make that point because I think it is important, and I hope officers are listening, that we do reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Yeah, I second that. If issues are happening in schools, that should be reported by education, and then the Equality team informed. Nicola, did you want to come back in?
Yes, I just want to apologise to Councillor Good if that's the impression I've given. Clearly, we do take our responsibility really, really, seriously, in the sense of being on top of these issues. Are extremely important. I suppose it was the reporting bit I was kind of referring to, in the sense of that's how we get the data. That is possibly flawed in the sense of it does go to the team and not directly to us. And we have to then get the data, but that's a data story, really, not about responsibility. And clearly, when there are complex issues, and some of these incidents are complex issues, we do very much pick them up within the directorate, either via our early help provision. If there are safeguarding issues related to these incidents, which there are sometimes, our education and engagement team becomes involved, or very often our youth justice provision becomes involved because of the nature of the incident. So as a directorate, we, take it extremely seriously. And, I think we have all got, things we can do better. And I've certainly taken some points on board here today, particularly around how we collate the information. But there is a lot of activity taken by the directorate and within schools, and I do apologise if I've given the impression that we are somehow not taking our responsibility here seriously, because we very much do.
Thank you, Sue. And I guess going forward, maybe it's about linking up together when we. Yeah, maybe we should link up together the education and the equality when we're reporting incidents in school, because it's really crucial that we both work together. Again, I'm going to come back to education, Nicola. Is Show the Racism work only done in secondary school and not primary, please?
I believe it has been concentrated in secondary schools. I don't think it's that it can't be done in primaries. It's just the limited resource. It's been targeted where we feel it might have the most impact.
Thank you. Because like it says in the report, some of the age group is quite alarming. I think it'd be good if some of that work started in primary. I mean, I live across from a primary school. I see what goes on there. So I think it'd be good to look at the primary schools as well. Councillor Blundell, are you going to come in?
Yeah, just to completely agree with you, Councillor Farr. I think we've seen in the figures that we received this morning that 11-year-olds are one of the big areas where we're seeing these levels of abuse, and I think there needs to clearly be some work and maybe some we can take away and have a look at, and as well to talk about what the leader said about good practice, because there will be good practice in our junior settings in our primary schools, and see maybe the Show Racism, the red card may need to be done in a different way to come across to junior children as it would be to secondary school children. But yeah, there's definitely something we should look at, and I'm sure Nicola and Sue, who are on the call, will definitely take that forward and see what we can do. And as the leader said, talking about Team Bridgend, seeing what work is going on already in some of our primary schools, and seeing if we can mirror that across the county with the rest of our primary schools. Thank you, Councillor Farr.
Thank you, Councillor Blundell. And you are right. We're kind of quite reluctant in shouting good work, aren't we? And we should be shouting loud and clear when we're doing something so well. So yeah, I think it'd be good to have some kind of report, maybe at the next committee meeting rather than wait for the year like the leader suggested. Okay, so I've got no more questions. We've reached the end, and you've asked for the recommendation, which is to note the report. Can I have all those in favour, please? Aye, excellent. Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 6, Strategic Equality Plan Annual Report, please. Who's going to take us through that? Zoe?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. This report is to provide Cabinet Committee Equalities with an update on the work completed within the Strategic Equality Plan 2020 to 24. And this is for the period 1st of April 22 to the 31st of March 23. So just a little bit of background. The Strategic Equality Plan, the annual report, enables the Council to monitor and review progress against its strategic equality objectives and review its objectives and processes in light of any new legislation. So just one of the few things that stick out there. So the annual report, which is attached as Appendix 1, covers the period April to March 23, and the report must be published on the Council's website, made available by the 1st of April 24. So the 6 strategic equality objectives for the current strategic plan are education, work, living standards, health and well-being, safety and respect, and participation. So just to take you through some key points to note from the annual report. So the councils continue to hold the status as a disability competent employer, which has again been renewed, I'm told, I believe. So collaboration has taken place between the council and Remploy, and this has involved supporting their clients to apply for vacancies in the council, and appointments have been made as a result of this. The Equality Awareness Workshop has been updated to include unconscious bias, critical thinking, and also hidden disabilities. Three workshops have been held with 24 delegates attending. The council has continued to make progress on appointing apprentices, with 40 employed during 22-23, and the council has appointed 2 graduates as part of its corporate graduate programme. So we also have the regular health and wellbeing employee communications to promote a wide range of physical activities to enable self-help, and some examples of those: World Cancer Day, Eating Disorders, Nutrition and Hydration Week, just to name a few. So in 2022, an online calendar of events for the LGBTQI+ History Month was shared via social media and internally with our staff, and that was a project that was undertaken by the Equalities team with the Proud Councils network that we're part of. The councils continue to work with the community and equality groups within the Bridgend Community Cohesion Forum, and representatives from across the community that represent a wide range of organisations meet quarterly to share best practice and receive joint briefings and training, which we found very useful. So the council has promoted campaigns via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the Bridgend County Borough Council website. And these include things like Men's Health Week, Samaritans Awareness, Ramadan, Pride Month, National Walking Month, Refugee Week, Mental Health Awareness Week, and so many more, which I won't name them all. But yeah, so much good promotion done on those. So if I can just take you to the recommendations for Cabinet Committee Equalities to note and update the work completed within the Strategic Equality Plan for the period 22-23. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Do we have any questions?
I don't have any questions, Chair, but I'm happy to move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Good, for moving the report. Councillor Melanie Evans, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you for that report. In the report, it mentions the council has promoted campaigns via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the BCBC website, and it lists approximately 33 different campaigns. Now, what I would be interested in is, what have been the outcomes of those campaigns? How do we measure the success of them? What learns, if any, have been identified from them? And how do we improve in making a success of future campaigns, please? There's quite a few questions there, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I would expect nothing less. Who's going to answer that one, please?
Yes, there are quite a few. We do, I suppose I'm lucky in a sense that I'm part of the community engagement comms team, so that we can actually analyse how successful these campaigns are in a way of, how many times they're shared by partners, by other followers, via social media. So in that sense, we do get a good sort of overview of the success of each campaign. A lot we do is promotional and awareness, and that is then reviewed again by, you know, how much interaction we've had via these tweets or posts. So it's all a little bit technical, which I wouldn't have full details of, but it's definitely something that's monitored by my comms team. So, yeah.
Thank you, Zoe. Councillor Evans, did that answer your questions?
Yes, it does. But as I said, I'd be interested about what learns, if there are any of them, because, you know, I understand that is the measure just how many tweets, how many likes we get. I need to understand what is the measure of the campaigns. That's what I'm really interested in. And is there any data that we could be presented for us to get a better understanding of what campaigns have been more successful?
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Zoe or Phil, please.
Yeah, I would really, the main point, I guess, would be the amount of involvement we have with each campaign. Obviously, each one is different, and we do try and do certain events, like we did the coffee morning to celebrate Shemai Day recently for Welsh language learners and speakers. And the measure then would be obviously how much interaction and how much interest we had, how many people attended the actual morning. So the measure would depend on the event, really. Each one being so different and depending on if it's promotion and awareness or if it's actual engagement events.
Thank you, Zoe. I guess for me, what Councillor Evans is asking is, do we have stats of how many times something's been liked or shared? Because that would show, you know, how many people it's reached and things. And I know on a special occasion we do light up the building, don't we? So that again is a form of campaigning, raising awareness in the community, which I think is excellent. People can see that, you know, we appreciate all these really important days that we need to be aware of. Phil, did you want to come in?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to let you know, Councillor Evans, we can look at all the stats and collate them after each campaign and make sure that they're included in for any future reports, so you can see which sort of campaigns are the sort of most successful out of them all.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be great, because it's useful, because for me it's about actually the outcomes of those campaigns and the measure. You know, are we targeting ourselves to how many people we want to attend, you know, an event, or how much reach are we going for, so we can measure ourselves against it. So I'd really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I've got Councillor Spanswick, please.
I think the report's been moved, Chair, so I'll second. That was a good move, the report, so I'll second the report. I'd just like a quick comment on point 3.3 under living standards. It's great to see that the pay increase April 22 impacted over 1,000 employees, instead of already on the lower grades, 88% being female. We are the largest employer in the county borough, and the next point there says about us becoming an accredited living wage employer in March 22. Only the second authority in Wales to be certified by the Living Wage Foundation. So just like to pull that out as a real positive note there, because we're a large employer and there's many, the public out there and fellow councillors are quick to criticise this council, but it's great to see we're the second in Wales to be the living wage employer. I'm proud to be part of that.
Thank you, Councillor Spanswick. Councillor Good.
Thank you, Chair. I should probably make a declaration of interest at this point, because I'm going to talk about something that I do in a different role as the head of the Terence Higgins Trust in Wales. But just coming back to the campaigns that are noted in the report, and I only mention it because I do think it's important. And if the monitoring officer wants to shout at me, then she can. But I just wanted to note for the committee's interest and for colleagues in the Equalities team that in 2 weeks' time, there will be the Wales HIV testing week taking place, which is being funded from Welsh Government via the HIV Action Plan for Wales, which aims to end the transmission of HIV by 2030. And I want to note this, and I hope members on the call note this and promote this as well, because it should be known that STI levels in Wales are the highest for over a decade, particularly amongst young people and heterosexual people of 30 plus. And I just wanted to raise the point that, you know, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's not me, but actually it's everyone, and everyone should be going out there and getting STI tested and know their HIV status. It's really, really important. Anyone can get a HIV and sexual health test for free, posted to their house. It's completely anonymous from sexualhealthwales.gov, I think, although I can check that. But I just wanted to raise that point and just highlight that that campaign will be taking place in 2 weeks' time, and it's a really positive thing, and I hope everyone will engage in it.
Thank you, Councillor Good. I've got some questions, if that's okay. I can't see any other hands raised. I mean, it's really good that we produce reports like this so we're aware what's happening in our workforce in the community. So my questions, so on page 31, put my glasses on. We've got some excellent training. The Equality Awareness Workshop has been updated, include unconscious bias, critical thinking, and hidden disability. I can tell you it's an excellent workshop. I'm disappointed though, only 24 people attended. I'm assuming that's from our workforce. And on the same page, we've got workshop continues with Stonewall to deliver LGBT plus training to staff. Again, disappointment that only 12 delegates attended. We've got nearly 6,000 staff. How do we change that? How do we ensure that people are aware of the responsibility in regards to equality? Can't some of these courses be made mandatory? So is that going to go to HR or police? And I've got 2 more questions after that.
Okay, thank you. For the purpose of the recording, I'm Paul Miles, Group Manager, HROD. So I think I can answer the both questions in one response, if that's okay, Councillor Farr. More sessions have taken place this year, so it wasn't a one-off training event. In both cases, we've had 3 further workshops on LGBT plus and 2 workshops on equality awareness, and I can see delegates have attended that. We've also improved the so it's ongoing, to answer the first part. The second part, I think, about improved attendance was your question. So earlier this year, we sort of revised how we promote training through a new learning and development landing page, and also improved frequency of reminders in terms of, I think it's a weekly reminder now, not ad hoc, so staff can start seeing that. And what we'll do is we'll continue to put these at the sort of the front of those promotions to increase attendance where we can. And I'll take away the point in terms of mandatory consideration, whether this becomes mandatory or not.
That would be great. Thank you, Paul, because I know there are some courses which are mandatory that all staff have to undertake. So wondering, you know, having been on this course personally myself, I found it was excellent and an eye-opener. So, you know, how can we change some of the policies to make sure it's mandatory for all staff?
Yeah, it was just to add to that the equality and diversity e-learning that has now been made mandatory, which is the part of the induction training. So just to note that's something that's obviously progressed.
So hopefully that'll be in our next report then. Great. My next question I think is going to be for Kirsty. On page 34, the last paragraph states, awareness raising tables were organised by Community Safety Partnership, located at various across the county. I'm just wondering, how did we communicate that to the residents of Bridgend, and do we know how many people actually attended those, please?
Thanks, Chair. So, Kirsty Williams, Community Safety Partnership speaking. Irene Blower in my Community Safety Partnership team hosts these tables around the borough. Irene's got a list of contacts in venues to make the arrangements. We pay attention to ASB hotspot areas, but we also try to reach venues across the borough to make sure we're widespread. And it is about awareness raising, as you said, understanding how to report concerns and so forth. Tables are held in spaces where we know we'll get good engagement, so places like supermarkets, leisure centres, libraries, community centres, bus stations and so forth, churches, drop-in centres, food pantries. And then during awareness week, such as recent ASB Awareness Week, Hate Crime Awareness, there'll be several sessions during that time. We link in with comms in advance of these sessions. We've got kind of a blank template that we just then populate the time and the location, and then that gets shared across our media, the social media platforms. But we're always open to new venues and ideas. So if anyone wants to come forward with venues that they think would be great in their community, please do get in touch with us. Thanks.
I think it's an excellent piece of work that we do. I mean, we as elected members, we always say we need to go out there and meet with people, and I think it's brilliant that we are doing that, and I wasn't aware of it, so it's excellent. I've got a couple of hands up, so can I call in first of all Councillor Elaine Whitney, please?
Thank you. I would like to take you to page 40 of the report. This is probably a question you're going to ask anyway, Nilo. The council has been exploring options on how to promote being a diverse employer to ethnic minority backgrounds. I know that you're a disability confident employer. So, for example, that all disabled applicants who meet the minimum requirements for a job get an interview. Is that going to be rolled out, or has that been rolled out to those from an ethnic minority? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wintley. I was going to ask that question, so thank you.
Right, so on that point, we're not aware of an opportunity to have that category, but I think something we could potentially look at.
Yeah, this is something that's going to be looked at as part of the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan. So obviously the work is very early days on that, but yeah, that would be one of the key actions that will come out of the RWAP, which we will be working on with HR as well.
Thank you, Zoe.
No problem.
Councillor Whitley, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Can I bring the leader in next, please?
Thank you, Chair. As you have described, I think it's always invaluable if members and senior officers have the opportunity to visit some of these projects and initiatives to see for themselves the impact that they're having. And I was privileged to visit the Feel Good for Life programme activity at Kennelly Community Centre. And I have to say, I was quite moved actually by the impact it's having on people that would, some of those people would be completely isolated and indeed wouldn't leave their own homes. But this provides a programme that supports those people and gives them an opportunity to get together, to meet up, and also as a way of supporting carers as well. And particularly at the moment, one of my favourite aspects of the project is it's fully funded by the lottery for 5 years, and it's a project that's delivered in partnership as well through Halo. And I know Halo also work with Arwen, and apologies to Councillor Winstanley, I'm going to have to make a decline interest because the library service is involved. But I think it's also important when we talk about equalities, we recognise, and this is in the plan, isn't it? This is about equalities for everyone, isn't it? And recognising the barriers that unfortunately too many of our older people face, and how we can lift some of those barriers so they lead fulfilling lives. And I would recommend the Feel Good for Life project, and ask if possible if we can do more work to promote some of those initiatives, because what we also find is that despite the work we continue to do, not everyone knows about some of these initiatives, and we want as many people to benefit as possible from initiatives like Feel Good for Life, but also the initiative for people with dementia to swim for free in some of our swimming pools, and the Super Ages programme as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. Final question from me, you'd be glad to know. I'm just wondering, do we have stats about how many we have in senior position within the authority with the protected characteristic? It's like we seem to have stats about gender, but I'm wondering about people with disability from BAME community, sexual orientation. I want to know how many are on senior level. I mean, as you know, we've had lots of reports done about institutional racism, and I think one of the action is trying to how do we support people to go up those ladders and become senior managers, please. Yes.
Yeah. So I think you've heard me mention it previously in these committees that we do hold information that's provided by all employees in terms of within our system. When we start looking at lower number groups of staff, there is a limit on what we can report because where there's no low numbers, less than 5, it's good practice not to publish the detail because you can actually identify individuals from that. I think what I reiterate is that we're created committing a workplace culture that recruits, retains, develops staff from all backgrounds, representing our communities. And we have an open, transparent recruitment process where applications from applicants all suitable applicants for the role. I think it was just one other point I wanted to mention is that obviously you've mentioned senior posts, but just in terms of recruitment, whilst equal opportunities is a feature of the recruitment process, managers don't have access to that information. It is held elsewhere. So it's very much so that interviews and recruitment is taking place on merit without any reference to any equalities information.
Thank you. I was just looking at our senior group managers, you know, and yeah, I didn't see any black people, any people from the BAME. I'm thinking, as an organisation, what are we doing to support people from the lower grade to go up those steps? And maybe we can have that conversation outside. Yeah. Thank you. I don't have any further hands up, so we'll go to the report. Everybody in favour of the report, please. Did you want to come back in, Leader? Sorry.
Yes, very happy to move the report, but I do think it's important to recognise actually, as it's now been raised, the appointment of Shagufta Khan as our social work lead in adult social care. That is excellent news, a recent appointment, and of course Shagufta is a member of BAME community in Bridgend County Borough, and that is a senior appointment within social services and the wellbeing directorate. She's our most experienced and senior social work lead professional in adult social care. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, so it's good. I just wanted that noted because I was aware of it. So thank you. Thank you for that. So we've moved the report. Everybody's in agreement. That's great. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 7, development of strategic equality plan 24 to 28. Zoe, is that you again?
It is, yes.
Thank you.
So this report is to provide Cabinet Committee Equalities with an update on the development of the new strategic plan, which will be 2024 to 2028, ahead of Cabinet approval to commence with public consultation on the proposed objectives. So the Equality Act outlines that all public bodies in Wales must comply with the public sector equality duty, which gives us general duties and specific duties. And one of these specific duties is to produce the strategic equality plan. So within the next strategic equality plan, the Council will publish equality objectives that will describe how the most pressing issues for people in Bridgend will be addressed over the next 4 years. And then the annual progress reports describing the work involved in implementing the corporate strategic equality plans. And this has been the case that we've presented to Cabinet Equalities Committee since 2016. So the equality objectives have now been proposed in order to develop the new strategic equality plan. Consultation and engagement exercises will be carried out in order to approve the equality objectives before these are implemented. In order to produce a draft of the objectives, there's been quite a few activities that have taken place behind the scenes, I guess, and engagement also. So we've reviewed the current strategic equality plan and the action plan for this period. We've used the Council's new corporate objectives to try and thread these through our new objectives. We've given further consideration to each of the 9 protected characteristics, considered national and local issues. We've looked at a number of the Council's existing plans and strategies, and we've used feedback from local equality and diversity groups and via the Bridgend Community Cohesion and Equality Forum. And we have also developed our own equality forum, which consists of staff within the authority to meet, and they've helped to shape the objectives, which has been really informative. So in addition, staff and stakeholders have been engaged and relevant information used, including the Equality and Human Rights Commission and their reports. And the following objectives have been proposed in line with the findings of the Equality and Human Rights Commission is Wales Fairer report, which is the most up-to-date report. We're still waiting on a more up-to-date one from Welsh Government, but I haven't had that yet. So if I take you to the objectives then. So the first one is access to services. So this will be looking to improve the experience and outcomes for our citizens, ensuring that every resident has equity of access to the services that they need. The second one, protecting our most vulnerable. So to establish comprehensive policies and procedures that effectively safeguard and support the rights and well-being of our most vulnerable populations. These include children, the elderly, people with disabilities, those experiencing homelessness and adult poverty, and that access care and support from social services. We've got objective 3 being living standards. So looking to tackle poverty and support independent living by considering the impact of any policy changes or decisions under the socioeconomic duty. Participation and engagement. So encouraging people and communities to participate and engage in issues that are important to them and influencing the decisions that affect their lives. Learning. So learning and education, promoting equal access to quality learning for all students, regardless of socioeconomic background, abilities, age, or ethnic background. And the last one being employment. So to promote a more inclusive workforce that values diversity, improve the participation and well-being and opportunities for development for those with protected characteristics. So that's just a very brief overview of the objectives, and obviously out of that there will come action plans which we'll obviously feed back when these have been done in more detail. So if I could just take you to the recommendation that Cabinet Committee Equalities note the content of the report prior to seeking Cabinet approval to commence with a public consultation on the draft Strategic Equality Plan, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zoe. So I've got 2 hands up. I'll go to Councillor Good first, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Zoe, for the report. I'm happy to move it. You've touched on this a little bit, but I think it'd be really good to know what work is being done in the consultation to reach the sort of harder to reach communities and communities with intersectional experience. I mean, the ones that sort of jump to the front of my head are people within social care, people who've experienced homelessness or are experiencing homelessness, people within the trans community who again often find themselves homeless or care experienced, as well as often people within the trans community disproportionately are former members of the armed forces, which I think brings me to a wider point. Obviously, as we approach Remembrance Sunday this weekend, I think it is important to know as well that we try and get that buy-in from people who are veterans of the armed forces, because again, they disproportionately experience socioeconomic issues as well as often homelessness and disability. So I just wanted to really touch on what work are we doing to sort of reach out beyond the sort of groups that you mentioned and on our usual process of general consultation, which we obviously put online and we share through social media. But what work can we do specifically to reach those people and make sure that their voices are heard and that their experiences are captured? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Good. I think we're definitely on the same wavelength today, because that's what I've got written down. Yeah, I exactly. I want to know, how are we going to communicate this, especially with those with disability, those with visual impairment? How are we going to do that? Because it's, I think, so important that we get people with that lived experience to be part of that, because they're the expert, aren't they? Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, definitely, and I couldn't agree more. And there's been a lot of work going on to establish external links with supporting organisations. I think we're lucky that we've got some established relationships anyway. Bridgend, People's First are a big one, and they've been very supportive in allowing us to go in and have engagement sessions with the service users, and the service users that access that service are, I suppose, varying needs of disability or additional needs, and it could be anything from, like you say, sight impairment to learning disabilities to physical disabilities as well. So that's been an invaluable input, really, and that's ongoing work that we really do want to take forward, and especially with things like shaping the strategic equality plan. You've got that lived experience, which, is invaluable. So along with those, we've also established some good links with Barvo, and Barvo obviously reach out through a lot of smaller, harder to reach sort of networks. So establishing those sorts of relationships, being involved in their meetings that they have to share issues, really, and looking at how we can support from more of a direct perspective.
Thank you, Zoe. I think Councillor Good wants to come back in with his question.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thank you, Zoe. I think that sounds really positive. Just two suggestions, really. I think it would be really good to see engagement with the community coordinators that exist across the borough, because I think identifying individuals who have that experience, I think they're probably really well placed, as well as Barvo's navigators that exist across the borough. And I think the other thing that jumped out to me are, we are, I was going to say lucky, but it's awful that they have to exist, but we have an excellent series of pantries and food banks that exist across the borough, which often multi-agencies attend to, offer varied support to these individuals. And I think that would also present a really good opportunity for the Equalities Engagement team to reach those people and on on terms that are their own, that they feel comfortable in, rather than in a situation that might put them at ill ease. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Yeah, good suggestion. And also our youth council, so it'd be good to link in with them as well. Could I bring in Councillor Maxine Lewis, please?
Thank you, Chair. I think my question ties in with Councillor Good's, actually. Can more be done for small community engagement? On the back page, there's community engagement workshops, Maesteg, Pencoed, Bridgend, Porthcawl. Not everyone lives in towns. We need more in the small valleys, the Ogmore Valley, the Garrow Valley, and Councillor Good's suggestion about the community pantries is a really good one, because I know they are in those valleys. So can more be done for small community engagements, please?
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. So, do you want to come back? I think that's a really good.
Yeah, that is a
good point.
fantastic idea, and definitely something that we can look to take forward. Yeah, thank you. That's great.
I think it's about having real meaningful consultation, isn't it? You know, I know we cannot have consultation, do a tick box thing, but this is about having that real meaningful consultation. Thank you. Can I bring the leader in, please?
Thanks, Chair. Building on the points that have already been made, I think that's a really good suggestion around effectively using existing structures and forums, because probably if we put out a flyer tomorrow saying, come and discuss our draft strategic equality plan objectives, it's not going to get people queuing up, is it?
I'd turn up.
No, we're not going to be overwhelmed. But there might be other opportunities. For example, I know the Regional Partnership Board is carrying out extensive consultation engagement at the moment through initiatives called Hackathon, and I'm sure someone could explain better the the value and purpose of those hackathons. But if we could look to do that as well, because genuinely, I think we'd have to, if we presented it in a very dry way, if we're looking at the, I don't think you'd get much engagement. But if you talked to people about, well, how can we make your life better? Because actually, this is what the plan's focused on. If you're facing barriers, if you've got issues, then I think that's a different conversation with a different group of people. And what I'm very mindful of is that actually for some of those people, we don't want to have to keep going back to them, because they will get a bit fatigued, won't they? And actually we want to say, right, okay, let's consult well, and let's consult once. So, you know, for example, people with learning disabilities, and we're using Bridgend People's First, is we don't want to be going back to them every 2 months to be and consulting them, arguably on topics that are quite similar. So, you know, how we can improve their lives, isn't it? So if we can give some thought to that, also because we're facing some very difficult financial pressures currently, aren't we? And you know, every time we consult and engage, there's a resource implication there, isn't it? So we have to think about how we can do that more effectively using those other different consultation engagement mechanisms that we have. Sometimes it's through partners like the PSB and RPB in particular. So that would be a suggestion from me, Chair, and I'm very happy to second the recommendation, please.
Thank you, Leader. I've got Councillor Melanie Evans, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would concur with all the councillors. My concern was actually going to be how we're going to encourage more take-up on the consultation process, because also the objectives for me look great. However, for them to be smart, I need some more be elaborate around how the objectives will be delivered and what are the targeted outcomes. So in order for an objective to actually be achieved, obviously we need to understand what are the measures in place for that objective to know whether it's smart. And also it's mentioned, I've read on objective 4, participation and engagement. I have read that there has been a new toolkit developed to support a more consistent and effective approach to consulting and engaging with our communities. However, I don't understand what the toolkit looks like. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on what the toolkit looks like and whether you have got a measure and what your target of response rate is for the measure of success for that toolkit, please.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I'll go over to Zoe, but I'm sure there's going to be an action plan that's going to be followed from this consultation, which will give you the steps and the outcomes. But I'm going to pass it over to Zoe. Phil, is it?
Yeah, I'm going to take that one, Chair,
okay.
That's okay. So we have got a corporate toolkit in place, because we have to be mindful that whilst Zoe's team is the consultation team. They don't get involved in every consultation that goes on across the council. So there's only certain sort of key corporate consultations which Zoe and her team sort of lead on. So we have developed a corporate toolkit, and that's available on the intranet to all staff. We remind staff that if they are undertaking any consultation exercise, they try to follow that toolkit wherever possible to ensure there's consistency across the local authority. But in terms of the consultations that is undertaken by the central team, we do keep a spreadsheet of every consultation. We do look at the stats. We do evaluate after every consultation is undertaken the sort of levels of engagement and participation. So that is all recorded in the spreadsheet, and happy to share that with committee members if needed.
Thank you, Phil. Councillor Evans?
Yeah, thanks, Phil. I appreciate that, because obviously, as you can appreciate as well, we need to encourage more take-up from my understanding from previous consultations, even in staff consultations, there doesn't seem that great a take-up. So I really want to understand how we are going to encourage more people to actually get their voices heard. And that is a massive mission. But we need to encourage more people to take up that consultation process.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I don't have any other hands up. We've heard the recommendation. Everybody in favour of the report, please? Thank you very much. That is carried. Moving on to my next agenda item, urgent items. I haven't had anything, so I'll close the meeting. Can I just say thank you to all the staff for the time and effort you've put in to do these reports. Really appreciated, to give us elected members a better understanding. So thank you very, very much for that. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.